Call the regular meeting of the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners for August 3rd, 2016 to order. Clerk, can we please have a roll call?
We have 10 present and 2 absent.
All right, and let the record show the Commissioners Ralph and Sorich are excused from this evening's festivities as they plan for other festivities. Both of them are integral to our county fair, and that starts tomorrow morning down at the Civic Center at 9 a.m. with the 4-H dog and cat and rabbit and poultry show, and carries through Saturday evening, and there's a lot of good stuff on the docket. So I would encourage all of us to, if you're looking for something to do this weekend, go down and support the county fair and some of our local kids. So with that, Commissioner Anderson, would you lead us in a prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which so greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so we please you and serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
You guys are a little late. Would you care to identify yourselves for us here, troop members?
Hi, we're Troop 1618.
Troop 1618?
Yes.
From the local Boy Scouts?
Yeah.
How about you guys come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, guys. And thanks for coming this evening to watch civics in action. At this point, I would open the mic for any public comment on matters that are on this evening's agenda. This is the point in the meeting where we take public comments from folks on things that are on our agenda this evening.
Auditor Vanderub, 2601 Grand Avenue. Reference Communication 16377. I, of course, on behalf of the 89% of the 500 people I have talked to, must request that this council call for and authorize a community council to conduct these discussions as stipulated in the Butte-Silver Charter. Thank you.
Thank you. Further public comment?
Chief Executive Vincent, Madam Chairwoman Cindy Shaw, members of the Council of Commissioners, my name is Bill Furco. I live at 4815 South Wyoming Street in Butte, Montana. I'm here once again to talk about the relocation of the county shops, item number 16-377. As I've said before, we talked about the different proposed sites. Some, I believe, were just flat out bad, and some were very minimally acceptable. But there's only one site that is best, and I'm going to continue to say it's the Mansfield Center. We've all heard the phrase collateral damage. We all know what it means. We see it all over our town. The Parrot Tailings is a perfect example of collateral damage. We're cleaning it up. But I'd like to also talk to you about collateral benefit. In discussions concerning the relocation of the shops, it's been said in this chamber by Butte-Silver staff, as well as a couple of commissioners, that there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers in the selection process. That got me thinking about what it means to win and what it means to lose in this regard. I doubt you'll find a single person in Butte that wants the light, noise, dust pollution, as well as that terrible rotten smell of the hot plant anywhere near their neighborhood. And we know that we're shooting for co-location, so that's going to be there. If you vote for the supporters of locating the shops in the middle of town, and who are primarily the Butte-Silver staff, I suppose that is a win for them. The unfortunate people who are unwillingly forced to live, work, or attend school near or around the new shops will experience a diminished quality of life and an immediate plummeting of their property values. This is collateral damage with no benefit. And this is going to be decided by you, all of you, as whether or not it's acceptable. That's pretty bleak, I know, and so I want to brighten things up a little bit and talk about collateral benefit. Our BLDC director, Pam Haxby-Cody, made a statement last week that really hit the nail on the head for me. She said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that it's more important to keep a business than attract a new business. And more importantly, it's difficult to attract new business. It's relatively easy to maintain an existing business. Should you choose the Mansfield Center as a new location for the shops, the city will realize a huge collateral benefit and keep an existing business which employs over 30 professionals right here in this town. One business that's been here for 35 years and has pumped millions of dollars into this community in the past. I'm currently the contracts manager at MSE, and I also am involved in business development. And I can tell you that we have ongoing contracts. We're an ongoing concern. The one thing that prevents us from growing our company exponentially is the burden of the facility we no longer require. Our business line does not require such a large facility for our operations. The retained jobs and future growth will pump more money into our local community and support existing local businesses like they have in the past, like we have in the past, and increase the tax base. This is the collateral benefit that I'm talking about, and it has no collateral damage. While the center of town is moving south almost daily, I live down there, I can see new construction happening constantly. The Mansfield Center is perfectly located for 21st century operations. The middle of town, we're talking 20th, 19th century operations. The Mansfield Center has all utility infrastructure and the shops will ever require. The geography is flat and is ready today for construction and or move-in, depending on how you choose of the options that are available to you. And also, there will be no delay in movement if you choose this site. You can move tonight if you choose. You certainly have options. However, there is no other site under consideration besides the Mansfield Center that will preserve a long-standing existing business and create an immediate spark of economic activity and growth. To win or to lose is reflected on a scoreboard. And there's only one scoreboard in here. It's right up there. All your names are on it. Red light, green light. And choosing the Mansfield Center provides direct and collateral benefit in so many ways. I encourage each of you to cast aside this must be a winner, must be a loser mentality, and recognize that choosing the Mansfield Center is a whole community win in which there are no losers. That's all. Thank you. I really appreciate you letting me get up here. I've been up here a lot lately, and thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Good evening, Chief Executive Vincent, Sheriff Shaw, and Commissioners. I'm William Rigby. I live at 2610 State Street. I'm here to talk about the Butte-Silver Bowl shop move. I've been studying the sites being considered. The only site that makes sense to me is the Mansfield site. It has everything required and more. All the other sites require construction of sewer, water, power, and buildings. MSC has all of this. While some of the buildings at MSC would require some conversion, it still would be a lot cheaper than starting from scratch. If it is going to cost $7 to $8 million to build a parking garage, what would the true cost be of completing a new shop complex? If MSC site is chosen, we won't be back here hashing this out again. When one of the other sites didn't fit the bill, then our children and grandchildren don't have to worry about finding tax money to relocate the shops at a later date as Butte-Silver Bowl grows. I would like to invite all of the commissioners to come out and look at the MSC site with me for yourself and to see what a great deal it is. I would also ask you to do your own homework. Don't take anybody else's opinion. Investigate this on your own so you can make an informed choice. So let's put this industrial complex at the Mansfield Center where it belongs. Also, I understand with Headframe Spirits leasing part of the Kelly, some of the Metro Sewer folks were left without an office and storage space. So come on out. We have lots of room at MSC. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Hello, Commissioners, Chief Executive. My name is Rich Penhaligon. I live at 828 West Court Street here in Butte. And I believe I can't ask any questions during this, right? It's just comment. But before you guys vote on the parking garage, I was wondering if you could get these following answers for me. And maybe they've already been answered. I just haven't seen in the paper. My question would be, is there still going to be free parking on the streets when the parking garage is built? And the reason I'm asking this is I'd like to get it on the public record. I could have called and asked the city departments or whatever, but I just want to find out if that's going to cancel out free parking so that everyone will know. And the second thing is, I hate to even bring it up, but I have heard that Northwestern Energy is in doubt for taking these parking spaces, and maybe I'm completely mistaken about that. I heard they're supposed to be raising. Anyway, I heard there was some problem. I'm assuming that's not a problem, because I'm assuming that would affect the parking garage being built, and I'd like to know what the answer is to that. And I didn't know that and to change the subject, I didn't know that the shops were on the thing tonight, but since he spoke about it, I'm going to have to say something about it. If that space is going to be saved for a private developer, for a hotel or some sort of private development living structures or something, and get some sweetheart deal, then I say, no, don't. I say put the shops there. If it's going to be given to some private company to make money off of, then let's use it for the shops if that's the best place. But if we can keep it for public use, for the people to use, then I say don't put the shops there and let's have a public area. But not if it's going to be given over to a private entity. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Joe Casagrande, 3212 Harvard. I just wanted to touch base with you guys tonight on 4-H, MSU management in the county of Butte-Silver Bowl. I'm in the private sector and really trying to learn about the government as well as academia and nonprofits. Though I'm just learning, I'm confident that in today's world there's one very common thread for which we all can be measured: fiscal responsibility. In my opinion, you're all service providers. Meaning that you don't do something around a product, but rather serve a need. And serving that need implies making prudent financial decisions. Each election cycle, we as the public rate your performance based on what you have done, what you're currently doing, and what you plan to do. I'm simply asking you to do the exact same thing regarding a service provider for which this county is responsible, MSU Extension. And yes, we are responsible, because if we are paying, we must be playing. Please ask to understand from MSU their past performance. Why did you barely hear of 4-H before November, but now read about it regularly? MSU's current results. Are you and those that you represent happy? MSU's future plans. Are you and MSU contemplating a baling wire fix or a long-term solution? And if so, what is that long-term solution? And why did not we hear about it before? And please, if you don't have the necessary answers, then please get the information. Be confident before you vote. I'd imagine that when each one of you are facing an election, that if you are proud and confident in what you have done, then questions are not a problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Cameron Moylan, 208 South Washington Street. Item number 19 on tonight's agenda is my request to purchase a distressed property at 102 East 2nd Street for its rehabilitation. When I wrote this request, I thought I was the only person interested in buying the property, but as it turns out, this is not the case, and there are others who are also interested in purchasing the house. To be honest, I don't know which of us is better qualified, but I can say that while I won't be finished with my current project until October, I could certainly restore the exterior of this property, which has been pretty badly damaged by fire, before the end of this building season, given that I have a couple weeks of warm weather to do so. I would do it entirely out of pocket, as I'm doing with my current project. I wouldn't ask for any money from URA or from the city. And if anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to, I'll stick around to the end of the meeting. Feel free to ask me. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Moylan.
Chief Executive and Council, my name is Jesse LaBeouf, 1907 Thornton. I'm here on petition number 16-3. I support the closure of the alleyway. My family has been involved with that property for some quite time, and I'd like to see that closed so we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. And just for other folks in the audience, you'll have an opportunity to speak on this when we open the public hearing. So commission members, just take note that Mr. LaBeouf's comments are relative to the alley closure petition number 16-3, and should be assigned to such agenda item. So, as a proponent. Any further public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of July 20th, 2016. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. At this time, I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting occurring July 20th, 2016.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anything on the question? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have no items not addressed on the agenda this evening. I'll make a brief Chief Executive report. As I already noted in Commissioners Sorch's and Ralph's absence tonight is because of the fair. So again, that starts tomorrow at 9 a.m. The Montana Standard and the Butte-Silver Bowl website's got a pretty good rundown of all of the different activities and the times at which those are going to take place. So get out and support your county fair. Also of note, I just wanted to state that as we continue our public hearing on the budget tonight, we'll be holding a special meeting next week on Wednesday, 7:30, to close the special, or to close the public hearing and adopt the budget. So take note of that. And then also next week on, I believe it's Tuesday. We have got the 75th anniversary of the Silver Bow Homes public housing project is going to be celebrated with an event at their gazebo on the east side of the complex at 4 p.m. So I would extend the invite for members of the commission and the public to join us and hear a little bit about how far the public housing has come in 75 years since those structures were first built. So that concludes my Chief Executive report. We'll move into the public hearings and presentations, and so I'll ask our Deputy County Attorney, Molly Maffei, if we have proof of publication on the public hearing for this evening, as we've already established that there was proper publication for the ongoing budget public hearing. County Attorney Maffei. For the budget public hearing.
Yes, for the, excuse me, Chief Executive and Council, there is proof of publication for the public hearing noticed for Wednesday, August 3rd regarding the alley closure out in Rocker Town Site, and it was published twice, and the publication appears to be in order.
All right, thank you very much. So with that, we have petition number 16-3. Michael Nasham, our building official, requesting council authorize a petition to close and vacate that portion of the 8-foot alley adjacent to the west 20 feet of Lot 3, all of lots 4 through 7, Block 3 of the Rocker Town Site on the Webster Lode, and Tract K of the Spear and Bauer Placer, number 1445, Section 21, Township 3 North, Range 8 West. Mr. Nasham.
Good evening. My name is Michael Nasham. I'm the building official for Butte-Silver. I've received 2 comments about this closure. One was from a property owner in the area, but the alley they were concerned about was not this one. It was actually down the road a little ways. And the other comment was an anonymous comment. The person, their only concern was that if this alley is closed, it could affect future trash removal or something if they were to use that alley. It's my understanding that this alley has always been part of this yard and it's never been used as an alley. Those are the only comments that I have.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Mr. Nasham from the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll open up the public hearing. So first call for proponents, those in favor of the alley closure. Please state your name and address, sir.
Yeah, my name is Richard Peterson, and I live at 1106 Cougar Lane in Rocker. I want to thank you for your time tonight. And I live in Rocker with my wife, Bonnie Peterson, and we've been working with Butte-Silver Planning Division to resolve an encroachment issue in regard to our property. We have personally worked with Pioneer Engineering regarding the survey of our property. And the survey map from Pioneer shows an 8-foot wide alley through the middle of our property. We previously had no knowledge of any such alley. And so now we have asked for an alley closure to define our property limits. This alley does not physically exist. There's no utilities or anything public that would be involved. It's only shown on the survey map. And it's only 8 feet wide. That part is, the yard is fenced. It affects no other people, just our own property. Yeah. So again, I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rich. Further proponents?
All right, for the record, Jeff Slabop, 1907 Thornton Avenue. I support the closure of the alley. Thank you.
Very good. Further proponents? How about opponents? Are there any opponents to the closure of the alley? Final call for opponents. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Communication number 16-305. Public hearing opened last week. Danette Gleason, Director of the Finance and Budget Department, requesting council authorize a public hearing on the final budget to begin July 27th and to be continued upon adoption of the fiscal year 17 final budget. Ms. Gleason.
Chief Executive Vincent, Council Commissioners, for the record, I'm Danette Gleason, the Finance and Budget Director for Butte-Silver. We're back here again tonight. There's some more information to share with you. Dory and Karen Hassler are passing that out to you tonight. We did receive certified values on Monday from the Department of Revenue, and so we're going to show you some of that information tonight. But to start, there's another summary of amendments. Like we always have addressed each time, we have several grant funds in Butte-Silver, and that in order to make sure that we have the correct budget authority, some of the claims have been being processed up through June 30th, and a lot of these grants carry over into September 30th, so we don't want to have too much budget on the table, so we make some adjustments to make sure that we're not leaving that authority out there and have an error on the grants. So to start off with, on the long summary amendment sheet that Karen's passing out, the first amendments that are on that relate to mainly law enforcement. It's the DUI grant, the traffic safety grant, the 24/7 program. Then there's also some changes in their canteen fund. We have to wait till year end. As you recall, we start this budget process in February, and they're trying to give us our best estimates, but a lot of these, especially items like the canteen count, carry over to the next fiscal year. And until we process everything, we don't know exactly what numbers and where they're at. And so these adjustments to the canteen, as well as DUI court, the RSAT grant, which follow, are all related to those type of expenditures and adjustments. We've changed a capital lease on equipment that was in the Superfund sites. Is originally set up as just a lease payment, but it's been determined that it's actually a capital lease, and for accounting purposes, we've had to transfer the funds around. There's really no budget impact. It's just basically accounting properly for that piece of equipment. The next group of transactions relate to the URA and RRA getting certified values on Monday and making our adjustments based upon the certified values that they had received. Finally, at the bottom, we have some adjustments related to the 18 mills that are assessed out in the TIFID, not assessed, but it's a contract that the TIFID has for the fire equipment grant. The TIFID value came in somewhat reduced, so we had to make that adjustment for that transfer based on that 18 mil contract. And then lastly is just adding the items that you will be discussing later tonight as it relates to the parking structure, putting the debt service payments on the books as well as the capital account related to the project. The next page is the resource and requirement schedule. It's the first time you've seen it this year because we did only receive certified values on Monday. You'll see that the countywide value of mill is $58,969, which compares to the $60,156 from last year on the countywide side. You'll also see that we are levying the same number of mills of 387.87 mills, which was the same number of mills levied last year. So holding taxes neutral with no increases. With the exception, I've noted the mills for the aquatic facility. That debt service that was added during the preliminary budget process was 8.59 mills. So the total mills is 396.46. The total appropriations in the tax supported funds is $45,483,374, compared to $46,720,128 last year, for a difference of about $1.2 million less than last year. This resource and requirement schedule maintains reserve levels at 16%, which has always been a goal of this commission, the chief executive, and the finance and budget department. I think that we have a well-established balanced budget, and I think we're ready to move forward with the final adoption of the budget. I've also handed out tonight just a mill value 10-year graph trend that I like to show the trend of our mill value. You can see back in 2008, the value of a mill was $49,416 compared to today at $58,969. So, values are increasing even though we are down from last fiscal year. Finally, if you'll look at the comparison, Commissioner Shaw had requested this comparison on the tax values on different values of homes. So you'll see the $75,000 home, $100,000 home, and $200,000 home. Exclusive of the aquatics facility bonding, we are staying neutral like I'd mentioned before. So the local government taxes on a $75,000 house would be $393. On a $100,000 house is $524. And on a $200,000 home is $1,047. When you add the voter-approved levies for the debt service payment of $505,000, the cost on a $75,000 house is $8.70. On a $100,000 home is $11.60. On a $200,000 home is $23.19. These increases just are slightly less than what we had discussed in our presentations throughout the whole discussion related to debt service payments on the bonds. I think less than 20 cents, but around 20 cents less than what we had anticipated. Finally, just again, want to iterate that I've balanced the resource and requirement schedule. I've done the computation related to 1510-420, the number of mills that we can levy. This year we're leaving another about 46 mills on the table. We've been doing some adjustments. As we make further adjustments to the budget, I anticipate that being slightly higher, again, maybe up to 49 mills that are on the table that are left to float. Again, those are exclusives of any debt service payments. We've always been in the habit, maybe to our own fault, of rolling in debt service payments that are voter approved within, and then saying that we're not raising taxes. We should actually be looking at our operating mills separate from our debt service mills and then determining where taxes are really going with that, because those mills are voter approved. And we always roll them in and then we put the pressure on ourselves each time when we're doing that, when we're calculating taxes. So that's why I took the option on the resource requirement schedule, and I backed out the number of mills just related to the aquatics. I didn't back out all the other debt service, just to demonstrate and illustrate how that mill works. That's all I have tonight.
Very good, Danette. Thanks for all your work and effort on this. Any questions for Danette? Commissioner Morgan?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Danette, on the ladder truck for the fire department, how many more years left of that debt service do we have?
We have 2 taxing years, not 2 whole complete fiscal years of payments, but 18 months.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Commissioner Perdue-Dolan, followed by Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Thank you, Danette, for all your hard work and all of these numbers. It's I think, of yeoman's work. I have a question, and I don't know if you have the answer off the top of your head, but you probably do. How much debt service does Butte-Silver currently have with regard to the archives, the aquatic center, the ladder truck, and I don't know if I'm missing anything, but do you have that number off the top of your head? And I know if you don't, but...
Danette?
Chief Executive Vincent, Commissioner Perdue-Dolan, if you look at the resource requirement schedule that you have there, there's separate line items. The one, if you look at the top box, it says GO bonds refunding debt service 16.77 mils. And if you go farther on down, it talks about the appropriations related to it. Are you asking the total debt outstanding or just how much are we levying this year for the debt?
Follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I guess I'm wondering all of the debt service that we have to pay for all those different things collectively. Thank you.
Chief Executive Vincent, Commissioner Prudhoe, on an annual basis, the debt service. So we would have to just sit there and add up the GO debt, the 1.057 million for the GO refunding, which that relates to the Civic Center renovation that was done several years ago, and then the law enforcement admin building and the detention center. The next one we'd have to add up is the archives debt service towards the bottom of $571,200. So we're at like 1.5 million. And then you have the ladder truck above the GO bonding debt service of the 103, so 1.6, and another 5 million, so 2.1 million in general obligation debt, roughly. Outstanding GO debt, when we did the bond calculations related to showing that we have enough capacity to service the debt that we had $34 million in general obligation debt outstanding. We had another 25 million available.
Follow up.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Danette, how many, because we have so many mills that we're working with, what is the balance of mills that we have left available and to Butte-Silver Bow government and to the folks if say we want to do something else within the county?
Chief Executive Vincent, Commissioner Prudhoe, there's roughly about 45 to 50 mills left. I've done the calculation. It's rough right now. I'll give the final number to you on next Wednesday night, calculating at 49.23 mills.
All right. Thank you very much. Commissioner Henderson.
Mr. Chief Executive, could you explain on the summary of amendments, the TIFID number 2, transfer to fire department? Could you explain that to me?
Sure. Chief Executive Vincent, Commissioner Henderson, that relates to the 18 mil contract that has been entered into with the TIFID and the fire department for the fire equipment fund. How this works is that it's based on 18 mils of the total certified value of that district, and then the TIFID allocates the funding over to the fire department, because the TIFID district is outside of the fire district, so they don't pay the 50 plus mils related to fire services. So this is their contribution back in to purchase equipment in case they ever were to be called out to that area. This is strictly based on their value. The number that we originally put on the budget was similar to the amount of value that they had last year. Those businesses out there have a lot of tax base related to their economics, so we don't know exactly all the final dollars till we get those certified numbers. And on Monday, when we got the certified number, the TIFID value had dropped. And so we had to make that corresponding change so that we weren't over-allocating funds, over-allocating more than 18 mils.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions? Okay. Thanks, Danette. Is there anyone that wants to comment, given it's a public hearing on the budget this evening? Proponents or opponents? It's open.
Thank you for the clarification. Orator Banrug, 2601 Grand Avenue. In that no one else wants to make any public comment at this, or to bother to come before you to make public comment at the last public hearing on this, I ask that you please correct me if I am wrong. I must object to this budget not containing, other than the sidewalk program, an allocation of funds to encourage and support neighborhood SIDs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bandrob. Any other proponents or opponents to the budget this evening or items within the budget? Okay. Seeing none, we'll continue to hold this open until next Wednesday when we have the special meeting to close the public hearing. Communication 16-352, Julia Crane, Superfund Program Data Administrator, requesting Council of Commissioners authorize time this evening. It was actually last week, but we moved it to this week, to present the outcome of the 2016 Superfund Advisory and Redevelopment Trust Authority grant cycle. And with Julia this evening is Chairman of the SARTA Board, Mr. Bill Joyce. I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, Chairwoman Shaw, members of the council. As the Chief Executive said, my name is Bill Joyce, and I am the Chairman of the Superfund Advisory Redevelopment Trust Authority, SARTA as it is known. And as you also know, I'm one of 11 voting members that has been tasked with making funding decisions concerning funds that were provided in accordance with the allocation agreement between Butte-Silver Bow and ARCO. And I just wanted to come before you tonight and let you folks know that our members have worked very diligently during the 18 months that we've been working. For most of those months, we've met twice a month. We vigorously evaluated 41 separate grant proposals. We spent a great deal of time and effort in establishing some detailed criteria that aided us in our evaluation of those proposals. And in June of this year, we were able to make final funding decisions for 21 projects, which we believe will have a lasting effect and benefit for the citizens of Butte and allow Butte to grow and to provide great quality of life. Today, Julia Crane has prepared a presentation for you, and after that presentation, both Ms. Crane and I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
All right. Chief Executive Vincent, Chairwoman Shaw, members of the Commission, my name is Julia Crane. I work in the Superfund program here at Butte-Silver Bow, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the Superfund Advisory and Redevelopment Trust Authority to update you on the 2016 grant cycle and the outcome of that process. All right, we have an 11-member board, voting board, with at-large members, board appointees, and ex officio members. Our at-large members are Bill Joyce, Neil Bolton, Stella Kaposia, Megan Couson, Wendy Grace, Mark Moudry, Emily Monday, and the forgotten but not forgotten Tom Mihalik, who did not make the list up here. I apologize. And board appointees, Rick LaBrush, who sits on the SARTA for the Planning Board, Danette Melvin, who sits at the request of the Board of Health, and Mitzi Resilient on behalf of the Historic Preservation Commission. We also have 4 ex officio members, Chief Executive Vincent, County Attorney Eileen Joyce, Commissioner Dennis Henderson, and Cord Harris, who is a representative of the Atlantic Richfield Company. As you may know or be familiar with, the SARTA was established by ordinance in 2014, and since that time they have met twice monthly on a very rigorous schedule, working to understand the ins and outs and complexities of the Superfund program as it relates to the city of Butte, but also to come together as a board to direct plans and programs that will lead to the redevelopment of mining impacted lands within Silver Bow County, and to advise this government in the decision-making related to Superfund matters, specifically improvement, redevelopment, and reuse of mining and environmentally impacted lands located here in our community. The objectives themselves are achieved through the development of an annual funding plan for grant allocations, and the redevelopment trust funds consists of these dollars which have been set aside by the Atlantic Richfield Company to the benefit of the citizens and residents of Butte-Silver Bow, in recognition of the development challenges present due to historic mining and the waste in place remedies selected. There are 7 types of projects that these funds can be used for. We talk about these as program areas. We utilize these funds to defray costs of development in mining impacted areas. Examples of these projects are the removal of mining impacted soils, very familiar in the area of the Belmont Senior Citizen Center and the Community Counseling and Correctional Services facilities several years ago. Preservation of historic mining, smelting, and mine-related infrastructure. Operation and maintenance of the parks and open spaces located on mining impacted lands, for example, Copper Mountain Park. Health initiatives, the program that is currently running is the Wood Stove Changeout Program, which is being implemented in the Greeley neighborhood. Our wonderful and so beloved festivals, Silver Lake Water Infrastructure System, and finally, Program 7, the Community and Economic Development Program. So the grant development process has been something that has been quite fascinating for me to witness over the course of the last 18 months. This is a program that is completely unique to the community of Butte and offers an opportunity that is incomparable to anything that we would see in any other community like it in the United States, I believe. There is a strength here where we are allocating resources to things that really do bring us together as a community, which is something that is really resoundingly positive. This grant program has been built by scratch by our volunteer board. They have gone through a wonderful process to establish eligibility criteria, asking that these monies be dedicated to residents of our community and that the money be spent in Butte, particularly in the BIPSU on mining impacted lands. Moving from that, developing an evaluation criteria that allowed them to evaluate applications with some rigor to make sure that they were meeting the meters of the allocation agreement, which allowed this money to be given to our community, but also to see that we are redeveloping our lands to promote redevelopment and long-term growth for our community. We also did 4 different grant writing assistance sessions at the archives, lending personal assistance to members of the community who may not be familiar with grant writing, to allow an open and expansive process that would make sure that people who don't do this every day were able to apply and to become eligible for the program. And they went through an enormous amount of work reading 41 20-plus page applications, deliberating the merits of each of those, and then sitting through and inviting the public to provide public presentations on their final selections. Next. So overall, 41 applications were submitted. They ranged, really focused on historic preservation and community and economic development projects. A total of $1.5 million in requests were made in the original funding RFP process. Of those, 21 exemplary projects were selected for funding, ultimately resulting in $647,325 in grant awards, with $301,000 going to community and economic development projects, $142,640 to historic preservation, $90,977 to mining and neighborhood redevelopment, and $37,500 to our local festivals. These applicants brought an astounding $994,764 to the table in in-kind match and hard cash match to these grant applications, which allows the 2016 SARTA grant cycle to have a total economic and community benefit impact for this community of $1.6 million in local investment. I'd like to move on and give just a couple of quick examples to you about 2 of the projects that I think have really exemplified what we are hoping to accomplish through this project. One is the World Museum of Mining's Orvain Stope Development Project. Their application and request for $17,995 will result in the development and rehabilitation of the existing underground mine tour facilities located within the Orphan Girl Mine at the World Museum of Mining. What this will make possible is right now tours typically can go to the 65-foot level. This will allow them to, tourists and visitors alike, to go down to the 100-foot level and see what it actually looked like for mines to operate in Butte. This is a pretty cool thing. It's kind of nice to be able to go into the ground and see what your grandparents did when they were young. So I'm very proud of this one. This will fund stope development and the station rehabilitation for that project. And then secondly, we have a project that will be installed very soon, actually, on the BAMP Trail, which is interpretive signage for the St. Mary's neighborhoods that were lost during mining operations on the Butte Hill. And that will be implemented very soon, and it will essentially allow for the installation of approximately 7 signs to be interpreting the history of the neighborhoods where my family grew up, but I never got to see. So that's kind of an awesome thing as well. We have programs that will be placing roofs on historic buildings. We have brick rehab taking place, the preservation of historic photographs, marketing for the redevelopment and the reimagination of our community, among 15 others. And I'm just really proud to share this with you tonight and would welcome any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Bill. Members of the council, do you have any questions? Commissioner Fisher?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Julia. I think you've done a great job. You know, I was at a few of the early meetings. One of the questions I have is, I think at the first meeting when I was there, there was talk about spending like $250,000 or $300,000 out of this fund. And in the letter we received, it says there was 20 projects for $572,325, and then in the handout we got, it says there was $647,325 with 21 projects. So I'm wondering what made you kind of double the amount of money you decided to spend from the beginning to the end. I mean, I don't know what the interest was on that $15 million, but wasn't the plan just to kind of spend the interest off of it?
Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Fisher, during the early stages, we endeavored to give ourselves a budget, and we had hoped that we were going to be able to essentially maintain the fund and just spend the interest. That was our goal, but the interest wasn't as much as we would have liked, and the interest in the funds and the grant applications that we had, which when we made that estimation we didn't know, turned out to be greater. And so when we finally got all of the projects that we got, which were 41 projects, and those would be 41 projects that were just in the 2 programs that the board has complete authority over, that program 2, which is historic preservation, and the program 7, which is the community development. When we saw that there was enough interest in there, and when we went through and ranked all of the various programs, we still tried to make a cutoff where we could keep it within the interest, but the board as a whole determined that the projects that we chose to fund were worthwhile, and so we decided to spend more money. And given that we haven't spent money out of these particular funds in the last 2 or 3 years before the authority was established, as a board, we felt that the projects were worthwhile, and so we went over what we had hoped that we could keep it under. Hope that answers your question.
Follow-up, Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it now. And then when we went from 20 projects to 21 and from 572 to 647, which is another, the letter dated July 15th or July 27th, and then the handout we got today, that's about 70,000. Was that divided amongst the 20 or 21 projects, or was that just 1 or 2 projects that were added to the agenda, I guess?
No, that would be accounting error on my part. I apologize, Commissioner Fisher. The 21 programs that have been funded with the 2016 can be found on this spreadsheet that I handed out to you earlier. And there is a list there of the allocations. And so the accurate number, which has been provided as our final budget, is the $647,325.
Okay, Commissioner, follow-up?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate the answers. And could you tell me what the interest was at this time on the $50 million?
I think I'd have to defer to the budget.
Finance and Budget Director Gleason.
Chief Executive Vincent, Commissioner Fisher, they started investing in the long-term investment pool probably the end of January, and it's not like you just can dump $15 million in. And we invested about 13 something. We left some in the short-term investment pool for different activity in case some big project came along as well, so that their hands weren't tied. Because when you start pulling some of those long-term investments that we invested in, you run the risk of losing the market value on it. And so, but to date, they've earned, just in that 6-month period, on being able to participate in the long-term investment pool with the state of Montana, it's around $170,000
they're earning about 3% interest on it, which is much better than what I can do here locally, how I'm restricted on the funds that I can invest in.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Julie.
Okay, Commissioner Shaw, followed by Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Thank you, Bill and Julia. This is a great list. I appreciate that. Since this is our first round, our first grant cycle, I thought maybe for the record and for our listeners on the radio or probably our Montana Standard readers. So at this point, is there oversight to make sure the projects are completed? Is this simply a match kind of a situation, or is this money handed? And I just, if you wouldn't mind, just give me a little thumbnail on that, please.
No problem. Commissioner or Chief Executive Vincent, Chairman Shaw, we are putting each of the applicants and the grantees under an individual contract. Okay. This is a reimbursement basis program. So for every dollar expended by a grantee, they will have to provide an invoice, and then we will receive that invoice, review the expenditure, and then make a reimbursement payment from the Redevelopment Trust Fund. We'll be working with them on a quarterly basis to accept progress reports, and they will report back to our wonderful SARTA board on the progress of their projects to ensure that they're being completed in a timely manner.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioner Morgan and then Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Julie, in regards to the festival economy grants that they received, was there consideration about using this funding for prolonging the festivals rather than just use the money this year and not have it next year, or have any type of equipment to utilize in the future?
I can handle that.
Yeah,
if
do you want to? Yeah, Mike.
The festival funding is in the allocation agreement is actually earmarked funds. So $50,000 is earmarked towards the folk festival. $25,000 is earmarked towards the Evel Knievel days, and then there was $25,000 that was specifically earmarked for other festivals. So those set the parameters in which we could operate. We could, if we wanted to, we could expend additional funds, but we were kind of compelled by the allocation agreement to make those allocations. And so those were the allocations that were made. The other fund, the $25,000 in the other fund, $25,000 went to the Henri Raw Festival, and we also allocated $12,500 to a new festival, the Cobalite International Film Festival.
Okay.
So that's how that went down.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Henderson.
Mr. Chief Executive, thanks you guys. I know how hard you worked. There was a lot of hours down there, I know that. And Mr. Sesso didn't buy any food that he was supposed to buy either. But anyway, I'd like to call on Mr. Sesso for 1 second, if I may, Mr. Chief Executive, to explain, I think it was Jim's question on the interest amount. There was a certain amount held that John could explain that was building up faster than the 3% that was withheld. And I would like John to explain that.
Mr. Sesso.
Mr. Chief Executive, members of the council, Commissioner Henderson, we started the year with $14 million. The board, I should say, made a decision to invest $12.5 million into the long-term bond pool at the Board of Investments. The presentations that were made by the operators of that fund indicated that we would average approximately 3% on that money over time, provided that we weren't anxious in taking it out. So that would generate approximately $442,000 in interest on an annual basis. But as was pointed out by the budget director, we didn't get that in the full fiscal year, so we're getting rolling on that. We got 170 back. We held approximately $1.5 million into short-term pool accounts to cover fiscal year 15-16 investments, and now the investments that were outlined today. We're not going to have to dive into the long-term bond pool because we anticipated spending in that $500,000 to $600,000 range for each of these 2 fiscal years, and that's what was held in our short-term pool. So that's about the size of it. We hope to average at least 3%. You know how that goes. But before the board decided to make that investment in the long-term pool, we had been given pretty good information from the Board of Investments. They had been averaging much more than that in previous decades, and certainly some of the other funds that we emulated to make this investment. The fund, for example, that is the long-term pool for the Butte Area 1, the streamside tailings, those were generating some 6 and 7% throughout the 2000 decade. But then after the crash of 2008, it's been more in the 3% range. I hope that answers your question.
That was it. Thanks, John.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Purdue Dolan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Julia. I just have a quick question. Other than what has been earmarked for the festival economy, and with regard to several of the items, it seems several of them are duplicated, and I've seen them in the budget. And what would you say to folks that see some of these things that you're funding as well, and you think that they just need extra money and they need more investment, like the miners' field at Copper Mountain and some of these the projects that may need additional funding from the advisory, the trust authority, that may question that and may need some additional funds from this authority, than just what you do essentially from the PowerPoint with regard to cleanup and what the core mission is with regard to community and economic development and other things.
Mr. Chief Executive, Commissioner Purdue, some of the grant applications were actually made on behalf of Butte-Silver Bow. So Butte-Silver Bow actually had projects in place. You mentioned the miners' field, which had sponsors in addition to Butte-Silver Bow, the Legion and whatnot. And so in those circumstances in which Butte-Silver Bow was a grant applicant, we considered those grants in the same fashion that we considered grants from private entities and made funding decisions based upon the merit of the project, whether it was a public project or a private project.
No further questions? Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for your work. It was a long and arduous process. Moving into the consent agenda, I'd make a call for any amendments or segregations. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I would like to segregate item number 21 in the communications 16-377.
Anything further? Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I would like to segregate number 316-359 and number.
What number was the first one?
Number 3.
16-359.
And number 20, please. 16-376.
Okay. Any further? Seeing none, Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. This time I move to approve Section 2 Consent Agenda A 1 through 4 and B 1 through 21 with the exception of item 3, 16-359, item 20, 16-376, and item 21, 16-377.
Can I add one more to that?
Certainly.
Before I second that motion, I'd like to segregate number 18, communication 16-374.
Okay. Item 18, 16-3. What was the number, Johnny?
374.
374. Okay.
Okay, so let the amended motion reflect the addition of Communication 16-374.
Did you second that, John?
Second.
Seconded. Nothing further on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. So we'll take them in orders. Number 3, 16-359, Jason Killam, Accounting Associate Manager, Butte-Silver Extension Office, advising Council of Commissioners regarding estimated county leave liability for fiscal year 2016. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. The reason I segregated this one is I myself am a little confused about why this is being brought up at this time. Usually these are things that happen when people are retiring or leaving the system. I'm just curious to why Bozeman, whoever they are over there, are trying or wanting to notify us this at this time. Do you have any answers for that, or does anyone have any answers for that?
Our County Extension Agent Kelly Anderson's in the audience. She will address this.
Chief Executive Vincent, Council of Commissioners, Commissioner Fisher, it's been brought to my attention that sometimes the instructions in the letter aren't quite the instructions for a city county. Each year I receive this letter for an account of how much annual leave I've accrued. I should have just handed it to Danette Gleason instead of your council secretary, and I apologize for that.
Okay.
What's your recommendation, Jim?
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. With that being said, I would make a recommendation to concur or note and place on file 16-359.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to note and place on file. Anything further on the question? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Communication 16-374, Karen Burns, Director of Community Development, requesting council authorize the Chief Executive to sign a guaranteed maximum price contract amendment for Uptown Parking Garage. Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Karen. Karen just had a couple questions in regards to what Rich was asking about earlier, mostly. I did have some questions regarding the contract, but you answered those for me earlier today, so thank you for doing that. Could you just give Rich a little information on the Northwestern Energy and the use of their parking, which I know with the URA, as well as the free parking in Uptown Butte. So thank you.
Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive, members of council, and Commissioner Morgan. Thanks for the opportunity to address those questions. So the parking is managed in Uptown Butte by the Parking Commission. And so before we would make any changes to parking on street or parking that we charge for our permits or parking in the garage, it would come before the Parking Commission. At this time, we have no intention of making any changes to the free parking or the 2-hour zone in which that free parking is established in Uptown Butte. And to the second question regarding Northwestern Energy employees, the way we structured the agreement with Northwestern, as you remember, is that they are very interested in this parking garage. They are not able to lease or purchase spaces as an entity within the garage because it changes the way that we can bond for this public garage. We work very closely with Northwestern Energy, and I can assure you they're very interested in buying multiple permits for their employees to park in this garage. They're very excited about it, and I do believe they are actually going to incentivize their employees on their end to park and purchase permits within the garage. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. That answers all of my questions for Rich.
Thank you.
So I will make a motion that we concur and place communication 16-374 on file.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the question. Commissioner Purdue Dolan.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Karen, thank you. Would it be then first come, first serve? I think you answered that before, but refresh my memory on that with regard to the permits and the folks who are greatly interested in getting them and the cost and that. Thank you.
Mr. Chief Executive, members of council, and Commissioner Purdue-Dolan, it would be a first-come, first-served sort of situation. This is a completely public garage. Our parking commission at our last meeting threw out a very good idea about trying to do a pre-sale, a marketing of the garage, basically, to get those permit applications in, not application, but those payments in, get those purchased. Right now, I can tell you we're estimating a monthly permit charge of $40 a month. That has not been decided, but that is what we're basing a lot of our estimates on in terms of revenue generation. And that would be in comparison to right now, a permit holder in one of our surface lots pays $30 a month. So it would be just a slightly more. That has not been determined yet, though.
Okay. On the question, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you very much, Chief Executive. Just so the public is aware of this, there will also be, as I know in our parking lots that Butte-Silver owns, the permit ones like high across the street, you have to have a permit to park there, but you will not, just for clarification, you will not have to have a permit to park in the garage once it's built. You will be able to get a space at any time, so to speak. Is that correct, or?
Mr. Chief Executive and members of council, Commissioner Anderson, that could be true. If for some reason we were to sell out the entire garage, I don't believe that's how we're not going to manage the garage that way. I can tell you that up front. We do want to have public spaces available. So we haven't determined yet the ratio. We need to kind of take the temperature of how much demand there is. I've often said it and I'll say it again. If this garage is full the day we open it and there's no spaces available, then we've been a success. We've moved people who would otherwise be parking on the street in the free zones and shuffling their cars into long-term parking within a garage that allows free up of spaces for commerce. So, to answer your question, I don't have a definitive answer of how many spaces would be available for public parking. In my mind, there will always be spaces available in the garage for someone to drive up and drive into.
Further? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Communication 13-376, Chief Executive requesting Council of Commissioners authorize the Chief Executive to join with the Montana League of Cities and Towns in an intervention in Upper Missouri Waterkeeper versus the U.S. EPA legal case. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Reason for segregation of this was because I read the letter and then I read through some of the legal mumbo jumbo, and it's rather confusing. And in the past few weeks, there has been talk in town of an attorney by the name listed and the attorneys hired, and it seemed to be kind of a secret. And some of the people have called and asked me to try to find out a little bit more about this endeavor. And I know our part is only $2,800, so I'm not too concerned about that. But if we could just get a little enlightenment on what's going on, I would appreciate it.
Okay. I can answer some general questions here. This is a pretty well-respected firm. I did, regrettably, our county attorney isn't here tonight, and her daughter's getting married this week, so she's been preparing as she should for that. I don't know if she's had a chance to discuss this with Molly at all, but she's obviously in favor of moving ahead with this. These folks are fairly experienced on these sort of issues, and under the united front of the Class 1 cities with the Montana League of Cities and Towns and the possibility of others joining on board, it is a good way for us to go forward with challenging some pretty controversial regulation as it relates to our future regulatory requirements, which gives us better certainty relative to what we'll be looking at in our sewage treatment plant down the road, our nutrient standards, as well as kind of shielding not just Butte folks, but folks all around the state of Montana to some very significant additional economic impacts relative to these requirements that, kind of put a lot of onus on municipalities to meet standards which have been proven beyond more than a shadow of a doubt to be unattainable in most situations. And so that's kind of the premise behind it. I got, Matt Moore is here tonight, who's our resident expert on the nitty gritty as it relates to these standards. So he might be able to shed a little more light on the subject. But I don't know if we're heading in the right direction on answering your question or giving you more info on this. Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I guess the concern is whenever we join a lawsuit with other cities, as you know, many people in Butte-Silver both feel we always get the short end of the stick because Butte, in a lot of people's eyes, in Butte, feel like we are kind of the black sheep of the family in the larger cities. Not just me saying this, this is consensus of some of the local people, and as I state, I'm just the messenger here. So when we join these lawsuits, I just want to be certain for my constituents and many people in Butte that we are getting as well represented at the table as the other 5 or 6 cities are getting representation at the table. And sometimes they're making deals where Butte, being in our Superfund city and the things we're doing, sometimes we're not getting the best end of the deal because these lawyers are from Helena, Billings. I don't see Butte's name on any of the legal mumbo jumbo there at all. So it is a concern. And I don't know if Matt can add anything or John Sesso can add anything, but as many of you know, many of us had calls, and the name that, we were hiring an attorney named Barry's been floating around Butte-Silver Bow for 3 weeks or a month, and I noticed the letter was dated July 15th, and the letter earlier than that. So it was just a concern, and I'm not a major concern, but I would just like to know a little more about it, I think.
Okay. This is different than a lot of other cases where there's actually going to be settlements in that. This is, I don't know if John wants to speak on this at all. He's certainly familiar with the legislation that this waterkeeper group is challenging that was put forward in mind for the benefit of all of our communities. And so this is a united front to challenge this group trying to strike down what I think John and his colleagues up in Helena all agreed was good legislation for the benefit of all of our cities. I think your concerns are well stated and well founded and not necessarily applicable to this case. So I'll shut up and let Matt or John chime in.
Chief Executive, Commissioner Fisher, the lawsuits against the EPA, who created the nutrient limits, the DEQ administers those nutrient limits for us. They created a variance process. They created certain limits. The lawsuit is pretty much saying the EPA didn't do good enough, and they want to see more strict limits enforced. It's kind of a frame of reference. Our new $36 million we've invested in our treatment plant gets us to those new limits, current limits we're under, and then maybe the next round of limits we're going to be okay on. This lawsuit might push us into the opportunity of having to invest again, immediately, to add more. I don't even know of technology that could get us there. We are essentially at the technological limit right now for what we can do and what we can afford here in Butte-Silver Bow. I don't think any ratepayers could add any more technology to get more or better limits. Other cities, we're all in the same boat on this one. We're not going to get treated any differently. It's our limits. So we'll be represented by the League of Cities. There's other agencies who've jumped on board, the National Association of Clean Water Agencies. They're a very large organization that represents Bozeman. I think our little municipality or our treatment plant will join, so we can get good help from them. And it's just this is quite egregious, this lawsuit, we feel.
John, do you feel the need to add
I
anything?
will, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can't emphasize more than what Mr. Moore and you as the Chief Executive have pointed out. When we worked together to pass Senate Bill 325 last year, sponsored by our Senator Jim Keene, we are getting to a limit in this country, in this state, and in our town on how much money that we can afford to continue to pay to try to preserve our waterways, whether it's stormwater, whether it's effluent, or whether it's groundwater. The citizens of this city and our state have to be given a break here. I mean, there's just so much money we can spend on clean water to primarily protect fish that people are not being able to afford their medicine, not being able to afford their food, and yet if we let this go unchecked, there will never be a limit that is satisfactory to certain people and certain organizations in our society. When this lawsuit came up, this was a situation where this was a group that wants to basically sue the EPA for failure to enforce the law as effectively as they should, where these cities and towns who are joining in on this lawsuit are going broke trying to implement the law that they're already being compelled to follow. So I just think that this is an important stand to take as citizens. We are all for clean water. We're all conservationists. We all want to do right by our natural resources. There is no question about that. But there is a limit to how much people can pay and how much we're going to be compelled to pay. And for some, that is a limitless amount. And we've got to join in and try to push back on this particular effort. As far as, I just want to make one other point about this alleged retainage between Butte-Silver Bow and I guess what you were referring to is the Browning, Calzac, Berry, and Hoven. And I can just assure you and everybody on the committee or on the council that there is no retained counsel by Butte-Silver Bow. We have not retained Leo Berry. Leo Berry sits in on various of our consent decree negotiations representing the railroads. They're in the same room with us, but there's no relationship whatsoever between Butte-Silver Bow and that firm. So I just want to clear that up for the record. I'd heard that myself over the last couple of weeks, and it's just completely false. Thank you.
I guess I didn't even get that reference in there, but yeah, I would encourage you to call Mr. Berry himself. We have no relationship on as it relates.
Thank you,
to
Mr.
this.
Chief. Yeah, thank you, John. That was great clarification. I think that opens lines of communication that a lot of people are looking for. I think those kind of things eliminate a lot of the things that get kicked around that are false. And with that being said, I would make a recommendation that we concur and place on file communication 16-376. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and on the question, if it's so suits anybody, there is a conference call scheduled this coming Tuesday at 1:30 with the League of Cities and Towns and Browning and Calzac to discuss this legal suit. I know that Mr. Moore and Mr. Schultz will probably be dialing in to weigh in on it. So if you're interested in that, let me know and you can take part. Just listen in. Nothing further? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And finally, we have Communication 16-377, Chief Executive requesting Council of Commissioners allow for ongoing discussion regarding efforts to relocate the city-county shops as a result of the state of Montana's pending removal of the Parrot tailings beneath. Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. this is going to be held in the committee of the whole until we decide we've vetted this enough and come to some conclusions, but I would just defer to the Chief Executive to give us an update.
Thank you, Commissioner Shaw. I guess in the interest of ongoing discussion, I'll try and give updates on what updates we have. I trust you've all been following the comments coming from citizens since we set up the webpage on this. We've got 23 comments from citizens so far, some of which have spoken in these chambers, a lot who have not, and so obviously we're paying attention to those. We have the hard copies of those comments. If for some reason you want to read them in that fashion, just let us know and we can make comments to them. I would draw folks' attention. We have talked about taking some field tours to some of the sites that are out there being considered. We have not scheduled that yet. I think that might have something to do with the fact that we are looking at further paring down sites, further evaluating some of the new sites that have come forward. We'll have some more discussion on this at the Committee of the Whole meeting next Wednesday, but also next Tuesday, August 9th, at the Superfund Advisory and Redevelopment Trust Authority meeting. That's at 6 o'clock at the Emergency Operations Center. We have put this discussion on the SARTA's agenda, and so the shop's discussion will be presented and discussed with our members of the Superfund Advisory and Redevelopment Trust Authority in their Superfund Advisory capacity next Tuesday, August 9th at 6 o'clock. Just wanted to kind of touch on a little bit of the more detailed progress that we're looking at here. I mean, obviously, we've discussed with NRD the additional time, which we're okay there on moving ahead on this. They've agreed to take a look at proving some additional funds for us to do further evaluation of the existing sites. Whereas this isn't going to be a do-over, so to speak, we are open to taking a little closer look at some of the existing sites as well as some additional sites, which at this point, we had one of those comments come from Frank Joseph down at the legal firm as you make the turn from South Montana to Beef Trail Road. That's a site that's been offered up for interest. I mean, we're looking ahead on it. It seems pretty small and it's got some floodplain issues, but we haven't outright ruled it out at this point. We were contacted by Bill Hollow of Hollow Contracting. If you know where his operation is right now, it's right across the street to the south from the Montana Pole Plant. He owns property that goes from there all the way south to Beef Trail Road, and so we're trying to get a little better idea of what percentage or portion of that site may or may not make sense for some additional consideration for a shop site. And then we also got contacted by a gentleman representing the Copper Peaks subdivision property. That's that area over there in between the YMCA and Row Road. And so those are some of the additional ones. Furthermore, we're continuing to evaluate and analyze the north side of Civic Center Road, the Saluso property on Centennial, the Burlington Northern property, the Montana Resources property, and the MSC Mansfield property. And we'll have further reports next week, both at the SARTA meeting on Tuesday, August 9th at 6 o'clock, as well as the Committee of the Whole meeting next Wednesday. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Shaw.
I will just refer this to the Committee of the Whole as recommended, and we'll keep it open for comment.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Nothing on the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving into Section 3, ordinances and resolutions referred to judiciary. Please take note of Resolution 1635. Moving into section 4, ordinances and resolutions for final reading. Number 1, clerk, can you please read the title?
Council Resolution Number 1630, resolution relating to financing of certain projects, establishing compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Code.
All right, thank you very much, Commissioner Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. I move to place Council Resolution 16-30 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there anything on the question? Seeing none, please cast your votes. It's a roll call. All votes in. Clerk, can you please record?
10 yea and 0 nay.
Okay, resolution passes. Number 2, can you please read it?
Council Resolution Number 16-33, resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of $8,080,000 principal amount of tax increment urban renewal revenue bond, Series 2016, Butte Uptown Urban Renewal District, to finance the parking garage project and prescribing the form and terms thereof and the security therefore.
Thank you, Commissioner Shaw.
I move to place Council Resolution 16-33 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anything on the question? Seeing none, please cast your votes. All votes in. Clerk, can you please record?
8 yea and 2 nay.
All right, resolution passes. Number 3, clerk, can you please read?
Council Resolution Number 1634, a resolution vacating, closing, discontinuing, and abandoning that unimproved portion of Utah Avenue adjacent to lots 4, 5, 8, 9, 12, 13, and 18 in Block 1, and lots 1, 6, 7, 10, 11, 14, and 15 in Block 2, and lots 1 and 8 in Block 3, and lots 4 and 5 in Block 4 of the suburban tracts, and further vacating, closing, discontinuing, and abandoning the unimproved portion of Avon Street adjacent to lots 15 through 18 in Block 1, and lots 15 through 18 in Block 2, and lots 1 through 4 in Block 3, and lots 1 through 4 in Block 4 of the suburban tracts, all such property depicted on Plat 391-B, Blocks 1 through 4 in Section 31, Township 3, Range 7 West, to the city and county of Butte-Silver, state of Montana, prescribing the effective date of this resolution and finding the necessary facts herein.
Thank you. Commissioner Shaw.
I move to place Council Resolution Number 16-34 on final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Seeing nothing on the question, please cast your votes. All votes in. Clerk, can you please record?
10 yea and 0 nay.
Okay, resolution passes. Is there any public comment on matters that were not on this evening's agenda?
Good evening, everybody. Brian McGregor, 362 East Galena Street. I'll keep this short. It's come to my attention last week that my neighbor to the west is building a large structure on his property. And the way I found out about it was when he started moving the dirt and building the foundation, or getting ready to build the foundation. My inquiries into this, because this guy is one of those people who's not a good neighbor. I hesitate to call him a neighbor because this guy has been nothing but trouble for me. And as I've understand to a lot of other people too, but that's kind of beside the point. My inquiries into this thing indicate to me that basically it's not in the process that I would be consulted or told about this project coming in. And I just want to, I'm phrasing this in the form of a complaint that I don't think that is, if that is indeed the way it is, that basically I have, as the adjacent landowner, I don't have any rights as far as being notified in advance of this coming thing. It's a pretty big project. It looks like it's about 35 by 45 feet, and he's going to go up maybe 2 stories. They say they just keep referring to it as a big garage, but I really have no knowledge of exactly what it is. I just have visions of this thing casting a shadow all over my nice yard. And again, you know, a person has a right to build on their property, but I think that it's not right that the adjacent landowner has no notification and no way of weighing in one way or another. Now, a good neighbor might have just come over and asked me and told me, I'm going to do this. You know, how do you feel about it? Or, you know, can we move your fence if we need to, or something like that? But of course, this guy never did any of that. I understand that even if it was in a historic district, that unless there was a demolition, there'd be no input from the Historic Preservation Commission or from the preservation officer on this. But whether or not it's within the district, I just think it's a little unfair that something like this could happen without any notification of the people that live around it. And I wanted to bring it to public attention and just sort of voice my ire about it. And that maybe going forward, hopefully I'll learn more about this if there is something else to learn. But I guess that's about it. Thank you.
What was the address again, Mr. McGregor?
My address is 362. I think theirs is 358, something like that. Because I'm really, my place is 3 lots, I think. So it's really, as addresses go, it wouldn't be the next address. It would be a few numbers down. I'm not exactly sure what it is. The fellow's name is Riley that has the property. Part of the process of them, I did find out that they had to change the zoning to build this garage because even though the property was adjacent to the house that's there, it wasn't on the same deed. It was a separate piece. So they had to join the two in order to make the garage code worthy. You know, the garage has to be associated with a house, with a home. You couldn't just build a garage by itself on its own piece of property. So they went through all this process, and again, through all of that, I never heard anything about it. And as all indications are, that's just the way it is right now. And I don't think that's right. I would expect if I did something like that on my property, my neighbors would want to know about it, and should have the right to know about it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chief Executive, you got a number but not a street address from where you were at, the street?
It's East Galena.
East Galena.
Oh, in East Galena, thank you.
Okay. Thank you,
Over there,
Mr. McGregor.
that little stretch, it's only 2 blocks long. It picks up there, and then it ends again down by the new brewery.
Okay.
That's where me and my wife have our house.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Good evening.
Moving on, is there any other public comment on items not on the agenda this evening?
Hello, Commissioners, Chief Executive again. My name is Rich Penhaligon. I live at 828 West Court Street here in Butte. I would like to first say this isn't probably right, but I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Morgan for getting those questions asked, although there's no specific real answers. But what I'd like to say is on the Park Street plan about changing Park Street from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, I remember coming to the meeting back in, I don't know, February, I can't remember, many, many months ago, and the planning department stated that there will be multiple public opportunities to talk about this, to have forums about this, and that we are going to have these forums. And there has been, as far as I know since then, a total of 0 on this, unless someone can stand and correct me on that. As you probably realize by now, I try and keep myself informed about stuff that goes on here in Butte. I come up here and speak about it, but in the public forums that they had back in, can't even remember, the end of last year at some point, I thought I was out of town at that time, but I realized I wasn't. And so there needs to be more public forums on this Just don't let this thing slip by. Please get the planning department to do what they said and have some public forums. Let's do it. 4 lanes or 2 lanes. Obviously, you realize that I'm probably not in favor of that. And I would like some public forums so some people can actually make some comments, besides having those quick little meetings of whatever group or company you paid to have those little meetings back at the end of last year to come out with the conclusion that they wanted to come out with. Please open some public forums up so some more people can give their input on Park Street before it just keeps going on and no one really knew about it in the first place. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No further public comment? Okay, turn your attention to the calendar of other meetings and events. I would note that I errantly said that the 75th anniversary event at 4 p.m. next Tuesday. It's actually on Wednesday. Wednesday the 10th at 4 p.m. at the gazebo at the Silver Bow Homes. So, it's on the east side. Yep. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned.